Welcome everyone to Conversations Avoid. I am Graveyard. As joined as always with my off-screen producer Salem. Let's get into tonight's show. I'm excited for a guest. It is the cross promotion second part we have here with Horror Realm. He's a podcaster, horror enthusiast, and all-around horror guru. I found out when I was on his show, The Horror Realm. Please welcome to the show, Travis Bruce.
Hey, Graveyard, man. It's been a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure, man, being on your show.
Thanks for coming on. This has been a work in progress for a couple of months.
It has been, man. It has been. And it's finally, listen, this is the first time in a while that I'm being interviewed. You know, I'm so used to interviewing, so I'm definitely excited.
Yes. As you know, our format, we got to start with the hard questions right off the bat, right? So really, what's your favorite scary movie?
All time is definitely the original Halloween. I mean, that is, I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect horror movie, but I mean, that's damn near close to it, man.
Yeah. As we discussed on your show too, I have the Michael Myers tattoo here. He's definitely on my all-time greats here.
I mean, even in that movie, I mean, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, you have Donald Pleasant. I mean, just so many great. I mean, you have that fucking score, man. I mean, it's such a great movie.
Yeah. Now, has there been any outliers that you just absolutely hated? Let's call it in the non-Rob Zombie timelines. Do you like Curse of Michael Myers?
So I've said on my show many times, like the first Halloween, but the second movie I've ever seen in a movie theater. My older sister, she had her driver's license, and she took us to see Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers. And so, even though that's not a perfect Halloween movie, I keep that close to my heart because it's my first Halloween movie I've seen in the movie theater. I've seen every single one since that point in the theaters.
Yeah, I agree. You know, for me, that was my first Halloween movie that wasn't a TV version of it. So I absolutely love it. Now, do you prefer the cursed ending where everyone gets transferred their roles between Paul Rudd and Donald Pleasance, or do you prefer the other ending that exists with Paul Rudd beating Michael Myers to death with a pipe?
So I enjoyed the theatrical version, which is the Paul Rudd beating him with a pipe. I thought it was a nice ending, but also I wanted to see where they were planning on going with the Cult of Thorn storyline and see if that was going to take place. But unfortunately, we got Halloween H2O, which was a great Halloween movie, especially in that Scream era that we were running in. And yeah, so, and then of course Resurrection kind of killed the Halloween series for a while.
Yeah, we affectionately call that the rapper timeline because of LL Cool J and Busta Rhymes.
Crazy thing about it is, like, I was watching something that was saying that LL Cool J is the only black actor to survive 2 horror movies. He survived Halloween H2O, and he also survived Deep Blue Sea. So
now, I think he was originally supposed to die in Deep Blue Sea.
Was he?
Yeah, because
why they changed it?
They changed it because the female scientist was going to live, and then the test audience said, "No, we want her to die." So I think they swapped the deaths.
It's a great movie, man. It's a great movie, and there was a lot of shark movies coming out at that time. Deep Blue Sea is it's underrated. Do we consider it a horror film? I do.
Oh, I absolutely. If you consider, I consider Jaws to be a horror movie. Like we discussed in your show, I also include Jurassic Park to be in a horror movie because it's just a creature going around killing things in the slasher format almost.
I agree. But we also debated, is The Predator a horror movie? And I said The Predator was, because it has that a lot of horror aspects to it. Now, listen, once you jump in that series, there is a lot of action. There's a lot of those movies that are definitely action movies.
Yeah.
But they still have that horror aspect to them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We also, discussed Terminator and Aliens. Yeah. They're all horror in a way, but they're also very action-y as well.
And it's a great combination, man. When you get fucking action and horror together, I mean, it's beautiful, man. I mean, and one movie that a lot of people say that they dislike is John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. I
Love it.
love that movie. I don't even like vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires with James Wood. I thought that was excellent.
The first one. We don't talk about the
Yeah, the
second
first
one.
one we don't talk about. Yes, or even the third one we don't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes into our talking point, you know. Besides that, is there any horror movie that's so underrated that you think needs to get brought to the limelight that is like a classic from the 80s or 70s that people just kind of swept under the rug and, you know, just kind of like, even though just a one-off, not a franchise or anything?
The Prowler.
Mm,
The Prowler is one that I'm surprised no one has touched or tried to reboot that one. Um, it's one that if you go up to most horror fans, they don't know about it. One, it's such. By the way, it's streaming on Tubi if you want to watch it. It's such a good horror movie, and it has that slasher element to it. It
mhm.
also has such a great story and a revenge plot behind it. And you kind of know who the killer is, but you don't know. And
Right.
I love those type of 80s horror films.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And on that list would have been Mutilator, but obviously now we have Mutilator 2 that came out this year or is coming out. Is it officially out yet?
I don't think it's officially out, but I think it's
Yeah.
almost out. Yeah.
It's been in the works for a while, but yeah, I'm excited for stuff like that.
See, I love the Hitcher, but I mean, they did have a reboot. That when did that come out? In 2000s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, Hitcher
The
with
Hitcher.
like
Uh,
I can't think of his name. My co-host is gonna kill me. Is it Rutger Hauer, right?
Rucker Howard. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Such a great movie. I mean, even the kill um with the cars
Hmm.
and the woman. I mean, such a good movie. And that reboot definitely pissed me off more than any other reboot because I mean it didn't have the same feel that Rucker
Right,
Howard, and I can't think who the main guy character actor is, but it doesn't have that same feel.
right. And I agree. Like I'd say the 2000s and early 2010s, we got all these reboots to stuff that are sequels that just didn't feel the same as the 70s and 80s IPs
One
as a whole.
100% agree, but I still love that Friday the 13th reboot. It's if it's not my favorite, it's my second favorite Friday the 13th movie. I get a lot of shit for that one.
I call it Friday the 13th 1 through 4 remake.
It really was because you got all the best pieces of those
Mhm.
films into one, and also it kind of added to the story and answered some questions that you know Jason fans were on like, how the fuck did he get from place to place? Oh, caves makes sense.
I like the idea of teleportation myself. That running
You
theory
like
that he has.
that?
Because that's in the Friday the 13th asymmetrical horror game is he is able to teleport.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. Now, I kind of wish with the Friday the 13th series that we would have saw more of Tommy Jarvis. I felt like, I mean, is Tommy Jarvis he's definitely in the top 5 final guys, I would say, in
Yeah.
horror films. I
Yeah.
definitely put him in my top 5.
He
But
needs
he
to
can't
come
be
back.
Ash. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the 1%, I would have loved in that reboot in some kind of way if they would incorporate a Tommy Jarvis character in
Mhm.
that and see where that would have went.
Well, you almost feel like in Jason Goes to Hell, um, the guy who was hunting Jason, that would have been the perfect place for Tommy Jarvis to become the expert in him.
100%. 100%. And I don't know, but I don't know. See, I know Sean Cunningham directed Jason Goes to Hell, which is
Yeah.
the first movie I saw in the movie theaters. And I know he directed it, but I know he could only use the name Jason. So I don't know if Tommy Jarvis name or character fell under the Friday the 13th
I would
label or what.
probably just because Steve Miner kind of continued it for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a messy battle that's still going on to this day about who owns what.
Yeah.
It's an interesting series. Yeah, I agree. Tommy Jarvis, because we had Corey Feldman and then we had two different other people playing him, and number 5 and then number 6, the New Blood, and then Jason Lives.
Tom Matthews, number 6 was amazing. Tom
Yeah.
Matthews was amazing.
Do you wish they continued that thread that maybe Tommy snapped in like New Blood, that maybe he was going to be the new Jason Voorhees?
See, I thought about that, and I'm like, I would have loved to see where that go, but I would have just loved to seen Tommy Jarvis and continue that character almost like a Laurie Strode, I mean, because Tommy Jarvis was definitely Jason's kryptonite. I mean, he was
like 10.
Yeah, like he just knew he knew how to defeat Jason.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Would you want Corey Feldman to have come back as Tommy?
Now, are we talking about drugged up Corey Feldman, or is it because I know he was, because I know there's reason to say that he didn't come back originally was because he got the role in Goonies.
Yeah.
And then I know that Corey Feldman went into like rehab. He was in drugs. Him and Corey Haim, God rest his soul, succumbed to drugs. But I don't know. I mean, I would have loved to seen. Corey Feldman is what I hear people say, like, why do you see Corey Feldman at horror conventions? I mean, he was in 2 iconic horror movies. He was in Friday the 13th Part 4, and he was in Lost Boys, which I fucking love. So I mean, he was in 2 iconic horror movies. Now, do we want to consider The Goonies a horror film? I mean, it's a kiddie horror film, but
I would consider The Burbs to be more of a horror film than Goonies, which he was in.
Yes. So I mean, he's definitely an iconic horror actor. I don't know. I wonder if somebody would reach out to him. I know they keep talking about rebooting out of the Friday the 13th series, but I wonder if anybody's ever rebooted. I mean, came out to him and asked him, about being. I know he's focused on his music career right now, but I don't know. Yeah, I would love to see right now. I would love to see Corey Feldman come back to Tommy Jarvis right now.
I mean, for God's sake, he did a Puppet Master movie, like number 10.
Yes, and he did like Lost Boys 4, Part 4, or something.
Oh yeah. It's amazing, and you would think that with like the new trilogy of Halloween, that they even brought back Kyle, the original girl from the original Halloween to come back. They brought back a lot of original people, and it worked for a lot of people. And you think that maybe he'd go, hey, I was Tommy. I need some money.
I 100% agree. I mean, the Friday the 13th series, even though it's not my favorite horror series, it had some iconic characters in it. It really did.
Yeah. All right. So flip it over. Most overrated IP of horror that you can think of.
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna give you 3, man. I'm gonna give you 3. I'm gonna give you 3.
Okay.
First one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I believe. What are we up to? 9 or 10 films?
9
in that series. 9. 9 series. Films. The first one, I mean, of course, iconic. True indie, low budget film. Part 2, I enjoyed Part 2. A lot of people don't. I liked it for its campiness and the cheesy. But then from there, it gets bad. It gets really bad. But then I like the Michael Bay, Jessica Biel one. I enjoyed that one. I saw that one in theaters, and it definitely scared the shit out of me. But then from there, it just went nowhere. I mean, there hasn't been a great Friday the 13th, not Friday, Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, or film since then. I mean, it's just been just mediocre. So when somebody says, that, oh my goodness, like my favorite movie series is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm like, well, only, I mean, let's say at the most 3 out of the 9 are watchable. So I would definitely say that. Now, the other one I'm gonna get some shit for is Terrifier. I don't understand. I don't understand people who love Terrifier. I really don't.
That's my producer. We're in the middle of watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre for our other show, our other podcast. So
Okay. but but Terrifier, I mean, the first one is, listen, indie horror, Damien Leone, thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
And but I don't understand people who, because people who are Terrifier fans are Terrifier fans. Like,
yeah,
they talk about Art the Clown and the Terrifier movies like they're the fucking greatest thing ever. And I'm not saying that they're bad movies, but I think for me, it's the Terrifier fan base. Like, the way they talk about Terrifier is like this is the greatest thing ever. Terrifier 3 is going to be the greatest horror movie ever. I'm like, really? I mean, listen, Art the Clown's a great villain, excellent villain. The gore is excellent.
Yeah.
But to say that series is even in the top 20 greatest horror films, I mean, it's hard to say. There's no storyline. I mean, it's just brutal killing, which is fun, but not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I would almost think that for a lot of people, this is like their first slasher, like their first foray into slashers. And we grew up in the 70s, 80s slashers and 90s slashers, so we were already used to seeing everything in Terrifier that we've seen so far. So it doesn't really shock us. For maybe a lot of people, this is like, oh my goodness, this is the most gory movie we've ever seen, and it is. But to us, it just fits in with the 80s slasher perfectly. So is it breaking new grounds for special effects? No.
Even like the kill that everybody talks about, which is the upside down cutting. Literally saw that in a movie called Bone Tomahawk, by the way. You got to watch. Yep. It's a Western horror movie. Literally saw that 5 years beforehand in Bone Tomahawk. So, I mean, it's not nothing new. But I think it's something new for casual horror fans.
Yes. I think it's that buzz. It's horror movies have gotten a buzz again. That's just the buzz for it. I think it's the general populace, I would say. Well, it's for sure.
But you know me, I support indie horror, so Terrifier, Damien Leone, keep up the good work.
Exactly.
But the third one and is the Conjuring series. I don't understand.
Yep. We are right here with you on this channel. We're just going.
I don't understand
this $2 billion franchise needs to stop.
It just keeps going and going, and like it could have ended and should have ended after the second one.
Yeah.
There's no more story to tell. There's no more story that I'm interested, and I don't think most people are interested in seeing.
Yes. You know, as Vera Farmiga's powers continue to grow.
Yes.
She starts getting psychic abilities and all this stuff. I'm like, no.
I mean, the last one was unwatchable. I saw that in the theaters. What was it called? The Conjuring, God Help Us or something. It was
The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yes, the Devil Made Me Do It. Yep. I mean, that one was unwatchable.
Yes. Absolutely.
It was absolutely unwatchable. But at the same time, those casual horror fans are going to see it and pump in hundreds of millions of dollars, so they're going to continue making that crap.
Yeah, and we, my co-host and I, we don't like the heroification of the Warrens. They were not good people at all, and every story they had is not even close to what actually happened.
I agree. Now, how about you? I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think that because I mentioned the casual horror fans. I mean, don't you agree with me that the casual horror fans are the problem? The reason why we don't get original new ideas?
Yes and no. And I was going to bring this up too, is I'd say a lot of horror fanboys, let's call them what they are, only like one particular genre or one particular franchise. And if anything changes in that franchise, they get very upset. So if we have something new, if we have, let's face it, most people still don't like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. It's not Michael Myers, therefore it's not a good Halloween movie. And I think it's not necessarily casuals. I think it's just people that want the same story over and over and over again and can't ever dwell and look at new things and get excited for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree with you with that, because I mean, if we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, I think they're just trying to recreate the original over and over again. Why not just try something completely different?
Yeah.
Just something completely fucking different.
But I think that's what the 2010 reboots were, is people trying to revisit these franchises after 10, 15 years and just making a studio very, very polished and clean looking horror movie. And that doesn't work. You can't have the best looking cameras. You can't have the stuff. It's supposed to be gritty and dirty.
And that's one of the things I do like about Terrifier series. It has that grainy, disgusting, fucking backwoods fucking look to it.
Right.
And it is a little disturbing and eerie. It definitely gives homage to, the 80s, 70s, and 80s horror.
Right. Yeah, I really just think it's, let's face it, a lot of people shit on found footage in the horror world, and I can, someone who, makes it too. It is still a passion project that people are doing. They're putting out a movie. You may not like the style, maybe think it's overdone, but it's immediately people go, oh, it's found footage. I'm not going to watch it at all.
Yeah. See, I'm the complete opposite. I love found footage. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Blair Witch Project. I mean, I was in high school when that came out. That movie disturbed me. It really did. And like, listen now. One thing in the horror genre we do is we find success in a horror movie, something completely original, and then we beat it to fucking death with copycats of that for fucking 10 years. Now, I understand most people who say that they hate found footage was because they were in that 10-year time span where everything was a found footage because of the success of Blair Witch.
Right.
But I mean, but then it took like, it was 20 years in between, and now, especially in the indie horror genre, so a lot of found footage out there. And I know you're with Horror Dads.
Yep.
Dylan Brown actually made one that I fucking love. It's called Ghosts.
Yep.
It is. Now, is that I would say that's horror, but it's action horror.
It very much is, yes.
It's an action horror movie, and I actually gave the villain in that movie. I gave him best villain for the Horror Realm Awards for 2023, and because he was such a menacing villain. I mean, he was this cult leader, and I'm a huge Jean-Claude Van Damme fan, and he reminds me so much of the villain in the movie Cyborg, which was was eerie and creepy. But yeah, there's some great indie horror found footage movies that are coming out within the last couple of years.
As I said, I talk to a lot of people on the show, just like you talk to a lot of people too. And like I said, I run into it. People like, well, I ask them what's the most overrated. They go, found footage. I go, why? It's lazy. What's lazy about it? It's not lazy in any way, shape, or form. I think what gives a lot of people hesitation is a lot of it is improv. You know what I mean? It's in a spur of the moment. And I have so many people that also go, what words we write, that's all you get to say. Period. And not really giving people necessarily a chance to shine and build the character. Because, we have the most iconic phrase being an improv line from Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. saying, I am Iron Man. It wasn't scripted, but it changed the entire franchise at that point in time going forward. So I like to appreciate every horror movie I come across, good or bad, whatever style, whatever genre it is. But why do you think people stick to, their IPs, their franchises, and are so afraid to venture out and look for new things?
I have no idea, because by the way, I'm going to ask you a question after this about laziness, but I don't know. Because like I'm a horror fan, so like I like slashers, I like found footage, I like the paranormal shit. I love the Paranormal Activity movies, well, most of them. But I even like, the stuff like Silence of the Lamb or Long Legs. I like the psychological. So like if you're a horror fan, yes, it might be some sub genres that you like more than others. But there's I mean, even like if you ask me what was my least favorite subgenre in horror, I would say the torture porn stuff.
So the Eli Roth and
Yeah,
Saw stuff.
but I fucking love Hostel. I love the first Hostel.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the first Hostel. But I'm not a huge Saw fan. I'm not a huge what's the other stuff that was out there? The all the Japanese shit that was coming out, like
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Or even like the one, what was the one called? What's it called? Was it Hard Candy? Where the guy was hitting on the teenage girl and then she tied him up and was cutting his dick off and shit.
Oh
shit! What the fuck is that called? Is it
God,
called
that
Hard
sounds
Candy?
familiar. I think so.
I only saw it once, but yeah, but like I can't sit there and watch somebody get tortured for a long period of time. That's too much for me.
Right. So what
But I
were you
love
going to ask?
Hostel.
Yeah, I love
The question
Hostel.
I was going to ask you was, now we're talking about lazy filmmaking. There is a debate right now. Is fan film making, using an IP to make a fan film, is that lazy filmmaking? Do you think it is lazy filmmaking?
I think I'd say it's a double-edged sword. It's you are showing your love for the franchise that you're creating in, or presumably creating in, right? So if you have a Jason Voorhees fan film, probably enough to continue on the story the way you'd like to see it go. Is it a cop out of using a villain that's already been established to do it? Maybe. I don't know. I personally would prefer an original character to be made than using something that's already in existence myself. Because I'd love to do a Nightmare on Elm Street. I'd love to do a fan film of Freddy Krueger coming back through sleep apnea and insomnia and sleep paralysis. I'd love to take that angle of like the mental diseases that we struggle in society and play that into an existing IP.
Yeah, and I agree. Because I mean, listen, I've seen some great fan films.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some really bad ones too, but we're not gonna talk about those ones. But I mean, like Victim No More, what is a fan film. I even have it somewhere there, but like, I mean, that was a great Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so like, but I've noticed in the indie horror scene there is a fight that's going on right now between, I don't want to say original indie horror filmmakers and fan films, because the fan film filmmakers, they fall into the indie horror, but a lot of indie horror makers like, well, do you really? Because all you're doing is taking established IP and making a cheaper, watered down version of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's double-edged sword. It could be really good. It could be really bad. I remember watching Baxter Films back in 2008 where he did a Freddy versus Jason 2, or he did, Return of the Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters versus, Nightmare or Freddy Krueger. I thought they're absolutely amazing because I love Ghostbusters so much. Yeah. But yes, there is an awful lot. If you look at like the Halloween IMDb, there's like 50 Halloween movies now because they're all fan films. It just really depends. If you're able to get permission to use IP, I'd say do it. If you're not able to, then make something new.
Listen, and I have no problem with it. I mean, I have no problem with it because, I mean, if that's the way for you to get into the door, if they are thinking about making another Halloween, which I hope they don't, but and you knock out a park with a fan film, and when they're thinking of their next filmmaker, which I don't think Hollywood even does, but let's say hypothetically they did, that might be your way into the door to be the director for the next Halloween film.
Right. My only concern with doing fan films would be them noticing and going after you because you don't own the rights to do it.
Or just taking your fucking idea.
Right. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like when I was, a couple weekends ago, I was helping finish the shoot I was doing, and we created a brand new villain that is the lore I built into that world, into the script that I made and helped co-write. Was I took old ancient gods from like the 1400s that no one talks about anymore. There hasn't been anything about them yet, but still following the slasher tropes.
See, I like that. I like that. I like new ideas. I mean, as a horror fan, I like watching shit that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're getting to the point now where, every 10 years something comes out, and then, like I said, with Blair Witch, and then we get beaten over the head with copycats of that right now. And right now we're going into that fucking public domain area right now, which is scary. Which is fucking scary, man. It's fucking scary. I think this is going to be the dark part of horror for the next 5 years. I think we're about to get into that dark realm of like where people are like, horror movies are a joke,
Yeah. I don't like for another group I'm part of, Horror Raven, we do writing prompts to help keep our writing skills sharp, and we record and stuff like that. We did pick a public domain character to make a horror movie off of. And I chose Peter Pan. Before Winnie the Pooh, people were talking about it. Because I said, what's more terrifying than a guy who is following his own shadow, goes into kids' homes, steals them, and takes them to a place where there's bad guys and pirates and mermaids that are trying to kill you.
And he loves hanging out with a bunch of little boys.
Yes. To me, that's a horror movie. Like I said, I'll have to send you over the script, the short synopsis I made for that. Yeah, it's just I loved it. But yeah, we'll definitely see more Mickey's Mousetraps. We'll get more public domain stuff, and some of it I'm okay with because.
But if it's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because Disney stole a lot of their ideas from other existing stories, and then they copyrighted it. So I think people should be able to use the original story still.
And if it's done right, it can be good. It really can if it's done right. But if you do it the Winnie the Pooh way, where there's none of the Winnie the Pooh lore there or anything, it's not even a Winnie the Pooh voice. There's no honey kill, any of that. It's just 3 rednecks wearing Spirit Halloween costumes. I mean, that's not fun. Like, come on now. I mean, you can use those public domains and tell a great story and bring some lore around it and make it fun. I just don't. I hope that more filmmakers. I hope that most filmmakers are not going the Winnie the Pooh route, which is lazy public domain filmmaking.
Right. Yeah. I liked Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Did you really? Wow.
I did.
Shit.
I did. Oh, second one, not so much because it's the same writers, same directors, and within a year they already destroyed their own lore. With number 2. I know Salem absolutely loves Winnie the Pooh. He can't wait to see more of the Pooniverse himself. No, he doesn't. So here's a question for you. Why do you think people are so fascinated with horror movies?
I'm gonna tell you what it falls in the same category of why people are so fascinated with going to haunted houses and shit during Halloween. We love to be scared. There's a rush. There's excitement. The same reason people like going on roller coasters. We love the thrill ride. We love being scared. And yeah, it's definitely that. We love being fucking terrified. We're crazy. We're crazy. We love being fucking scared.
So why do you think people like ourselves are so, I'd say, more infatuated with horror versus other people that like have seen a horror movie but just steer clear and go to their 10 How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days instead?
I think for me was because I was raised on horror. Like when most kids was watching, The Lion King or whatever, I was watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like my parents were huge horror fans. So at the age of 3 and 4 years old, I was, by the way, I would not recommend this to any fucking parent, but I was watching horror movies at a young age. And I was watching action movies. And you look at my wall, I got nothing but action. I got Jean-Claude Van Damme and fucking horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a huge action film and a huge horror fan. And for me, what really drew me in to horror was not the blood. Well, it was the blood and guts, but it was the characters. I love horror. Used to have amazing characters. I'm not saying they don't now, but they used to have amazing characters. I mean, you look at the Mount Rushmore, you look at Chucky, you look at Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, kidding me. I mean, the list goes on. They were amazing characters with amazing backstories as well.
Right. I agree. Another follow-up question that would be, why the hell is everything horror related so much more expensive than if it wasn't horror? Our collecting dollars have to go a lot longer, a lot farther.
All right. So this goes into, for me, I call it the Walking Dead curse. Walking Dead definitely made horror in general mainstream. Yeah. You know, like where soccer moms who never watched a horror movie started dabbling into horror films. Mm-hmm. I remember going to horror conventions back in, you know, the early 2000s, and it was like it would be me and like 40 other weirdos, you know, and there was no long lines. It was $10 to fucking get in, and right. Bill Moseley would be sitting there, probably give me a free autograph and a free picture, and then like The Walking Dead made horror such a mainstream, especially when it comes to conventions, where it's like the cool thing to do now. Cool to be a horror nerd. When I was in high school, you had to be. I mean, you were a weird person if you were a horror fan. If you walked around with a horror t-shirt, you were a fucking weirdo. Like, you know, you definitely wasn't getting any pussy. You know what I mean? Like, forget about that. but like now, and I blame it on The Walking. I blame it on. Some people will say Scream, but no, it was The Walking Dead. Walking Dead made horror mainstream, and it made, you know, people. That's why I said a casual fan, people who dabble into horror, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna buy this Halloween T-shirt. It's fucking expensive. I can't even go to horror conventions more half the time because it's so fucking expensive. Yeah, man. It's so expensive, so expensive.
Oh yeah, and I say that because Salem and I, we collect laser discs. And the horror movies are so much more money. So much money. I can get, you know, History of the World Part 1 for $3. But if I want Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, it's $100.
Holy shit.
You know? I understand like the later releases are the rarer ones, but you have like anything that is a noticeable name or you know, that people recognize, it just immediately goes up in price. Like freaking Pinocchio's Revenge, that really shitty movie that came out in the mid-90s about Pinocchio ripping off a child's play, is at least $50 every single time. Oh, and I'm like, it is an awful movie. I love it. It's so bad, but it's an awful movie. It should not be worth $50.
That's fucking great. I see a comment from Tef and says, "We need a horror movie starring Van Damme."
Almost
so,
did.
By the way, by the way, Jean-Claude Van Damme Jean-Claude Van Damme horror. This fucking random thing. So Jean-Claude Van Damme signed a big $100 million contract with, I believe it was, I want to say it was New Line Cinema, and you know when he got Time Cop, and he was actually supposed to be in a snow horror movie, fighting the abominable snowman. I'm being dead serious. This is a real thing, and the movie got canceled because, you know, he had that coke addiction, right. And but he was supposed to be in a horror movie. It was supposed to take place in the snow, where it was supposed to be like a Bigfoot or whoever is the Bigfoot of like the snow. I think it's abominable snowman.
Yeah, or but Yeti.
He was supposed. Yeah, he was supposed to be fighting a Yeti or abominable snowman, which sounds fucking amazing. Yes. I would love to see that shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. And well, obviously I think he was supposed to be the original Predator.
He was supposed to be the Predator, but but the costume was too hot for him.
Yeah. So instead we got this giant guy, and that's the Predator statue that we have now. All right, man. we hit this time a while ago, but it's a great conversation. Yeah, he's almost Predator. So let's get into the wrap up question, Travis. So, what we discuss this a lot: practical or CGI, or do you think we'll ever have where the combination of both is perfect as it is?
I think so. I'm old school. I prefer practical over CGI, but I was interviewing a makeup artist recently, and what she was saying was, CGI is great to fill in where practical can't do. And I was like, I respect that,
right?
But I cannot do 100% CGI like Evil Dead Rises. I can't do that. It just doesn't look natural to me.
Right. And we all can't. I mean, I think that's the problem. Is our generation grew up having practical. Then we hit the mid to late 90s where the CGI was so bad that we just go never CGI.
I agree.
And then it's right. Like, let's face it, Vecna looks fucking amazing in Stranger Things season 4, mostly practical and CGI. And I think that's that gap's there. But always we're going to look back to 1982's The Thing versus 2011's The Thing. One has aged well after 42 years, and one has aged poorly after 13.
I agree, but I think we're going to see more CGI because I think more Gen Zers are going to be making films eventually. I'm a old millennial, and I feel like right now, I feel like the Gen X's are the ones who are really making the films when it comes to horror. I feel like eventually the Gen Zers, they love CGI. They fucking love CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think CGI is going to eventually take over horror because that generation, they love special effects and they love the blood flying all over the fucking place. And yeah, it's gonna be a while, but I think we're gonna see CGI take over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I think we actually had one person say CGI, but he is a CGI guy. So, oh yeah, it's practical, and I think even if we go down that path of CGI, there'll be someone in 10 years that go, my God, we've seen this really old movie from 50 years ago, from the 80s, and go, I want to make a movie in that retro, old ass style.
Yep, and they're gonna make a Terrifier movie, and people are like, "Whoa, this is the greatest thing I've ever fucking seen," and not realize it was something that was done way back. Yes.
Oh yeah. All right, so Travis, any advice for anyone getting into what you do with horror realm? If it's a podcast or interview, any advice for anyone?
So my advice, I've been doing this for a little bit over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is it's a full-time job. It really is. If you go into this part-time, you're not going to make the criteria for the initial criteria, which is 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. It's hard to do it if that first year that you are in, like I got monetized my first year. So that first year you get into this motherfucker, like you got to be balls to the wall, posting a video every single fucking day, like boom, 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 boom. You got, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. You have to live, breathe, and eat this stuff, and you always have to be constantly thinking of new ideas to add to your channel. And I also would say horror is probably the worst fucking genre or whatever to get in on YouTube, because there's so many people who are doing horror. There's so many. And there's so many people who do it great, but there's so many people who do it not so great, and it's just an oversaturated market when it comes to horror on YouTube.
Yeah, I definitely see that too. It's just, I know you put in crazy amount of work to what you do to get into let's face it, I'm part-time. I do the podcast, I do this, I do other shows, so it is something that I'm trying to do more at. We're doing more cons, and then we talked about that. We're probably going to see each other in November in Chicago.
Yes, they
So,
did.
yeah, we officially have a table. So
Nice. So I'm gonna definitely swing by. But I'm gonna tell you a true story. And this happened last night. I literally thought I was having a heart attack, and I had 3 interviews scheduled last night, and I knocked all 3 fucking interviews before I went to the ER and got checked out. That's how fucking committed to the fucking shit that I am. You know what I mean? And like, it's crazy, man. It's a full-time job, but guess what? I fucking love it, and I absolutely enjoy it.
Absolutely, and it shows. I really think it shows. Like I said, we discussed before. Last year in 2023, between the 3 channels I was on, I did 300 shows last year across everything.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was doing it 6 days a week, maybe 7 sometimes. So I had to step back, and that's why I kind of did this show, is to take that breather from the other channel. I helped get monetized, but I'm doing my own thing now with my producer and co-host. So we're just living it up here in the world. And yes, Tiff wants to ask a question that I always ask. If you're making any horror movie, any branded IP, what would it be?
If I'm making any horror movie, brand or IP, what am I making?
Yeah, if someone goes, Travis, I'm going to give you $100,000 or $1 million, $10 million.
Okay.
Yeah. What would you make?
And I don't know if we've seen this before, but I'm going to give away one of my movie ideas. I don't know if we've seen it before, but I want to see something. See, I'm gonna get you canceled. I feel like by saying this, but like, you know how now when it comes to like social media and online dating, I love women, but women have become delusional because of social media and online dating, because they're constantly getting gratification from men messaging them sexy, even if you're not sexy. What if we had a movie where there was a good-looking guy who was like a lawyer or something, and he was meeting average or unattractive looking women and killing them? It'll be like almost like a American Psycho, but I feel like I haven't seen anything like that. That movie probably would get a lot of shit, but I would love to see. You know what I mean? Imagine like Matthew McConaughey, and like he's picking up 300-pound women and stuff, like, and he's murdering them. Like, I think that
the catfish killer.
Yes. I feel like something like that. It would have to be something completely brand new. But if I was going to do an established IP, I would do Sleepaway Camp.
Ooh.
I would do a new 2024 Sleepaway Camp.
Because the last one was what? 2006, 2008?
Oh my goodness, that movie was hard. I mean, I did a ranking of the most annoying characters, and that fucking guy in that movie, I forgot his name, was Andy or something like that. He was the most annoying fucking character I've seen in a horror movie. But I would do like a fresh, whatever, a 2024 Sleepaway Camp. I don't know what that looks like, but that's what I would do.
Oh, I mean, it's ripe for the idea of wokeism. It's perfect.
100%. But I would have that same creepy fucking pedophile vibe to it as well. You know what I mean? Like the original Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you watch that movie right now, it's cringe. I mean, the way that these adult men are like, oh, look at that. Like, I would have that same fucking cringe to it, but have a modern version of Sleepaway Camp. I think that we need that. I think, yes, that's the IP I would choose. 100%.
I love that. My wife would love that idea too, because the only horror franchise I ever bought her on DVD was Sleepaway Camp.
Nice. So yeah, she would definitely love my idea. Sleepaway Camp. That's the one. If you're going to do a reboot, I don't know how that looks. I feel like it might offend a lot of people, but guess what? Sometimes offending people is good, because that draws people in to watch. Controversy is great sometimes. So it would definitely be a controversial movie, but people would come in and watch 100%.
Oh yeah, we probably get Felicity Rose just fine.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so you're ready for your random piece of horror trivia.
Shoot, go ahead.
All right, right off the top. What is the cursed object in the 2009 movie Drag Me to Hell?
The cursed object in Drag Me to Hell. Shit. This is a movie I've only seen one time, and I saw it probably in 2009. Was it a mirror?
No, it's a button.
It was a button. Okay.
Yeah, because because it's Sam Raimi, and the old lady that she refused to give the loan to, her button came off, and she cursed her with a gypsy curse, and she thought she had put the button into an envelope and stuffed it into her decaying corpse, but it was a coin instead, and it was a button.
All right, see, I gotta revisit Drag Me to Hell. I remember that was a great movie when I saw it back when, but yeah, a button. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I love it. Sam Raimi. So
Sam Raimi is amazing.
Yeah.
Give me another one.
You want another one?
Stick with Sam Raimi. Yeah, let's stick with Sam Raimi films.
I don't know. I mean, this is like I'm just pulling from like a trivia deck.
Okay, just you just give me a random one. Okay, just give me a random one.
Okay, I mean, what horror franchise centers around a group of survivors who escape death and are killed by one in freak accidents?
Oh, that's the Final Destination series. Yes.
Oh, that was too easy.
Yeah, that was easy.
All right, here's the last one. What's CHUD stand for?
Oh, what does CHUD stand for? I fucking love CHUD, by the way. CHUD 2 was such a disappointment.
Bud the CHUD.
Isn't it chemically human something? Well, I don't know. What's in the
cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers?
CHUD is such a good movie. Okay,
yes.
That's a good one.
That needs to get remade.
CHUD does need it. Not before Sleepaway Camp, though. Sleepaway Camp needs to come first. And then I would say Prowler. Ooh. Then we can do CHUD.
There you go. We can probably make this happen. We know enough people.
Yes.
All right, Travis. So before we go, give us your pluggers. Where can people find you, follow you, and keep up everything with you and horror?
Listen, you can follow me on Horror Realm on my YouTube channel. Just search Horror Realm. I'm the first one that comes up as a little Jason skull with a chainsaw. By the way, it took a long time for my channel to be the first one to come up when you search Horror Realm. But now I'm the first one up there as we pop up. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Horror Realm MD for Maryland. That's where I reside. And you can look us up as well on Facebook at Horror Realm. Yep, that's where we can find us.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on, Travis. This has been a blast. This is our 2-part of the cross promotion that you've done. It's been a blast. Hope you had a good time. Make sure that everyone that's new to this channel, watching this in the future, make sure to subscribe to us at Pod Out at Night on YouTube. Follow us everywhere on social media at Pod Out at Night. And we'll be at the Massacre in September 28th, sponsoring, I believe we are sponsoring Phantasm. We'll be there, and we'll be at Days of the Dead in Chicago, November 22nd to 24th. And we'll see you next time. And make sure to not get lost in the void. Good night.
And I'll be seeing you guys at Day of the Dead in November as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.